Okay, so in today's video what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to stay down over the golf ball and compress your irons and how the two moves go very much hand in hand. I think the priority first of all is how are you going to stay down over the golf ball? Well, this video is going to be very relatable for, I would say, most golfers who have a tendency to sort of stand up at some point in the golf swing. So the first thing we need to understand is a couple of things. First rule is going to be weight pressure. So that's making sure that we understand that in the downswing we have to shift the weight towards the lead leg. And the second one is going to be hip depth. Now, that's why you can do it in a couple of ways. I'm going to use a cardboard box. I think for most golfers, or a better way of phrasing this is for all students that I work with that are struggling with the pivot, I would be absolutely adamant that they use something in their practice if they're able to, because it will kind of ensure that sort of awareness is heightened and the swing will generally improve. So you can just position the box, the chair, whatever it is that you practice, just behind the back of your hips. That's absolutely fine. The only reason why I'm not a massive lover of that is because, as we'll see when I move the box, it can lend itself to not a bad pivoting action, but not a fantastic shift of weight pressure, okay? Because like I say, if I sort of place the box just directly behind me here, you could kind of see the way that that might look like not a bad rotation, but what we're really looking to do is shift the weight more towards the lead side. So I would normally advocate that you position the box at like a 45-degree angle, so it's located on the outside part of your lead hip, and then that way the feeling is that you're actually trying to push in towards the box. And this is the big thing that most amateur golfers don't do. They don't shift the pelvis enough towards the lead side in the downswing, and they don't retain enough hip depth. When you start to do this, as you can see, if I concentrate on keeping my head still, the way that my trail shoulder automatically drops down, and already I'm starting to look like I'm in a position where I'm staying over the golf ball. So you'd position the box at, I would say, a 45-degree angle, and if I sort of just get the club, place it across my shoulders, you would just spend enough repetition first and foremost just practicing swinging back and just pushing in towards the box. Sorry, my box is a bit wobbly. There we go. Into the box like so. Okay. Now you should, when you're doing this type of exercise, you should feel weight moving underneath the lead side, but the big thing is the hip depth. So the way my lead hip is staying back over that box. So if I just get myself set up now, nice and close, and then if I come into this downswing, so the way I'm still keeping that same hip depth, which is almost giving me this ability now to look like I'm staying over the ball. So the big thing to understand is it's an angulation perspective. It's obviously your sort of theoretical geometry. You influence how your pelvis moves, you'll influence how your upper body moves. And if you can do that, then you're going to lend yourself to having the ability to work on the compression side of the golf swing, which obviously I want to go into very much now. If you've practiced and got used to the correct sort of pivoting action, what will happen is that your body will feel very different. But the likelihood is that, especially if you're somebody who just stands up, you're going to start to notice the way you'll have more sort of chest rotation as well. Now, if I hold my trail hand just to the side of me here, if I start to rotate my body, so I move my pelvis in the same manner as I was against the box, and I allow my chest to rotate as well, can you see the way the hands move more out in front of my body? Now, this is the correct sort of motion, because what would happen in the golf swing is that you would also pull the club down. So that would keep the arms a little more connected. But I don't want to put too much emphasis on that because, again, I'm trying to predict how it would feel to you, who's somebody who either stands up or you get the pivot wrong. What will start to happen, and this is the feedback as well, obviously, from students, is that you're going to feel like your hands are much more in front of your body. And you kind of want that. You don't want the arms getting too sort of stuck to the side of the body like so. You want to pivot so your hands stay in front of you, because as my hands stay in front of me, that's going to help me get into a decent impact position. You imagine an impact position where you're trying to compress the ball, your hands would be in front of you. You know, you wouldn't want to be in a position like so. So what then starts to happen is that if you're accepting that your hands are going to be more in front of your chest as you're coming in towards the downswing, then what you need to do is you need to position your trail wrist accordingly and your upper arm accordingly so that you can keep the club moving on plane. So if I introduce a plane line in here, what I mean by this, or as if you like, this is the concept of shallowing the club, is if I pivot correctly and I don't move my arm correctly, see the way the club shaft starts to get more vertical. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to increase the hinge on the back of my trail wrist, and I'm just going to move my upper arm more to the side of my body so it's a little closer, as you can kind of see here. And what that's going to do is that's going to help shallow the golf club off into this type of position. Now from here I can then just continue to move, if you like, in towards the box, hold on to this sort of feeling of the wrist position, because that's going to keep the club moving through on playing, until the latter part of the swing, when the club would naturally, shall we say, more release down on the back of the golf ball. So again, the way that you are going to stay over the golf ball and offer it more compression is quite simply by doing two things. You're going to stay more over the golf ball by getting better at retaining your hip depth, which is where the box comes in. And you're also therefore going to lend yourself to improving the compression on the back of the ball if you can obviously bring the club down in the correct manner. If you're somebody who sort of, straightens this arm, if you like, sort of too soon, and you cast the club to the side of you, or particularly if the upper arm moves away from the body, you're never going to compress it. You let the upper arm move down to the side of the body and you retain this trail wrist coming in towards this early downswing, you're going to lend yourself to then being able to shallow the club while staying over the ball, which is again is going to equate to better ball striking and better compression, and obviously just a little bit more of a feeling of an effortless type of golf swing. Hopefully that helps. See you guys again really soon.